producing false documents so people can exploit black children in the name of mental health. Why did you simply not cash in? And why did you decide to oppose? And to that I always said, I never really had a choice. Since I was a little kid, I've always took up for those who couldn't take up for themselves. I don't know what it is or where it came from, but that was just always me. I was always on the other side, rooting for the underdog. And I was blessed with the wisdom of knowing early on that no matter what I made or no matter what I earned, I would not be able to take it with me when I left. Some people don't get that wisdom until it's almost time to leave. Some people don't get that wisdom until they gain it all, only to lose it all later. And some of us are blessed and born understanding that that is the reality of the world in which we live. You come in naked and you leave naked. And one of the biggest problems with African people spiritually is that many of us think that we can buy happiness. We think that if the car just gets a little larger, if we just get an extra degree, if we move into the right section of town, if we marry the right white person, then maybe times will get better. But what does the research show? Even coming from European scientists, the two biggest predictors of happiness is whether you like your job and whether you love the person you live with. Not how much money you make, not how many degrees you have, not where you live or what you do or how popular you are, but do you like what you do for a living? And do you like who you come home to after you've made a living?
Wow.
If you can say, I like my spouse and don't like my job, you're one of those people who like to stay home and never go to work. If you say, I like my job and not like my spouse, you're one of those people who become workaholics and never go home, claiming you love your job, but you really hate the person you spending the time off of the job with. Some of us don't like our spouse or the job. We in the worst shape of all.
Wow.
Because we never get peace of mind. You ever have a friend who never wanted to go home? After work, let's go get some drinks. After the drinks, let's go get something to eat. After you go get something to eat, let's go shop for a little bit. After you shop a little bit, let's just go sit in front of the water. After you sit in front of the water, let's go visit some people we ain't seen in a while. If you're saying, I got to go home, I got children, I got a husband, I got a wife, I got things I have to take care of, but they just want you to hang around with them. Do you know why that is? Because solitude is the mirror of the soul. And when you're forced to spend time by yourself, your spirit by nature is designed to hold in front of you every aspect of self that you are not willing to face and deal with. And so the reason why a lot of us don't like going home is because 5 minutes on a couch by ourselves is like an eternity of tyranny. When you're by yourself, your memory and your spirit kicks in. And it tells you about the bad relationship you got with your brother or your sister. When you by yourself, memory and spirit kicks in, and it talks about the goals you had that you stopped working toward, whether it was going back to school or opening that business, whether it was improving your relationship with an old childhood friend, whether it was volunteering at the community center, everything you're supposed to be, but ain't got the time to be. When you got time to be by yourself, the self will remind you of all those things you have given up on. And why does the spirit burden you? Why does the soul constantly want to let you know about all those things you don't want to face? Because your nature is divinity. And because your nature is divinity, anything that is not divine in your life will be hung before your eyes like wet laundry by your spirit. And that means that sadness, in a certain regard, is actually a blessing. Because when you feel sad, depressed, worried, anxious, and fearful, those are all signs that there's something you need to work on with yourself. Had it not been for depression, you might never take a look at yourself. Had it not been for the alcohol addiction, you may have not thought you had a problem. Had it not been for fear and anxiety, had it not been for addiction to shopping and sex and addiction to entertainment, you may have never taken a deep search for the soul. What is every psychological issue we as people have come from? Whatever it is, whether you're addicted to money or shopping, whether you're addicted to dating and sex, whether you're addicted to food, whether you're addicted to fast cars, whether you're addicted to men, women, crack cocaine, marijuana, cigarettes, every addiction flows from your neglect of your spirit. Every addiction has at its core your unwillingness to face your own demons so you can get to the heaven behind you. Most of us spend our lives suffering from addictions, hoping that the addicted substance or person, that something can keep us from facing ourselves. And it never can do that. In order for you to get to heaven, you got to go through hell. But many of us would rather pacify ourselves and never really achieve that great spiritual bliss that everyone is capable of achieving. If there's one thing I never agreed with when it came to the major religions, and on my mother's side we was raised in the church, and on my father's side we was raised in a traditional Sunni Islamic masjid, but on either side, and my grandmother was a Jehovah's Witness, we had a little bit of everything. That family was something else. I love them to death. But if there's one thing I didn't like about the teachers, was that everybody was so busy waiting for heaven in order to enjoy happiness. We would go to church and we would go to the mosque, and everything was about how things get better after you leave earth. As a young kid, it always bothered me because I said, why do people gotta die in order to have peace of mind? And if you're telling them they gotta die in order to have peace of mind, you're also telling them that it's okay to suffer in the here and now. And when you tell people that suffering is all right, sometimes they use it as a convenient excuse to stop working on their conditions. So I said that when I grow up, and I made the decision to be a psychologist in the 2nd and 3rd grade, I was very young, but I said when I grow up, my life work is going to make people happy here and now. My life work is to put smiles on people's faces here and now. My life work is to teach people that you can experience heaven on earth, because heaven is not a place. Heaven is a state of being. And anyone can tap into that state, but only if you're willing to pay the price of admission. And what is the price of admission to peace of mind? One of the prices is a hell of a lot of discipline. You got to have self-control like nobody's tomorrow. You got to be able to control your emotions, control your financial habits, and most importantly, control your lust. And when we talk about lust, we're not just talking about the sexual, physical, carnal lust, but we're talking about the lust to be seen, the lust to be heard, the lust to be in control, the lust to criticize other black people. That's one price, discipline. The next is forgiveness. If I could bless every African with one thing that could not be material, it would be the ability to forgive at a drop of a hat. Because so many of us walk around in our daily lives carrying 10,000 pounds of grudges on our shoulder. And we fail to understand that the grudges we carry don't just stay in the physical. They transform and become material. And so many of us suffering from hypertension and heart disease. Many of us suffer from stroke and heart attack, diabetes and cancer. Many of us suffering from obesity and unhappiness. It's not always due to the chicken wings. It's not always due to the pig feet. Your mental diet will kill you quicker than your food diet will. He who can forgive shall themselves be forgiven. When we talk about being born again, it means dropping the old negative self and taking on a new, more positive self. So that means that everybody here today, when you go home, find somebody you've been holding a grudge with. It might be a sister or a brother. It might be a niece or a nephew, aunt or uncle, mother or father, co-worker or next door neighbor. But today, they're getting that walk back to divinity by finding somebody you've been holding a grudge with and walk up to them and give them a big hug and say, I forgive you. And when they start to try to explain to make you think that what you knew was right was not right, tell them, I don't even care about the details anymore. Us being at peace with each other is far more important than the details. One thing you got to understand about spirit is you can't intellectualize it. And one thing I see as a therapist, and I know Pastor Hagen sees the same thing as a psychologist, and that is people who try to overcome spiritual demons intellectually. The mind has limits, and you got to know what they are. And one of the things you got to understand is no amount of information you consume can take you to a better state of mind. You can only get there through travel, spirit travel. See, most of what we read was not written by people who ever gained that divine insight. So if you're only studying written words to get to a certain level of spiritual elevation, you'll never get there. You got to take yourself there. See, the Bible and the Quran will tell you about God, but neither one of them can help you experience God. They can tell you about happiness, but reading them books ain't going to make you happy. Information and experience are totally different. And if you want experience, sometimes you have to stop looking for the information and begin to live in the here and the now. Too many of us spend most of our lives having never lived a day. Most of us are prisoners to our past. When someone comes to therapy, 9 out of every 10 of them, you know what made them depressed? You know what's making them anxious? Do you know why they're addicted to cigarettes, alcohol, marijuana, sex, and shopping? It's because of something that had already happened and can't be undone. The essential mental health issue of black people is trying to control things that have already passed or are so far into the future you cannot control them. And one of the great wisdoms of our ancestors, one of the great wisdoms of nonviolent culture is knowing that at the end of the day, you do not make the decision anyway. Being at peace with not knowing what's coming next is next to godliness. And you got to get there. I come across African Americans who suffer from obsessive compulsive personality disorders. These are people who are obsessed that something is going to go wrong in their life. And so obsessed that they compel to do things to try to stop you. I'm obsessed with the fact that I might get sick. So I'm going to wash my hands 50 times a day until the meat falls off and the blood starts to drip. I'm obsessed that my wife might leave me. So I'm going to follow her all around and stalk her on Facebook and Twitter. I'm obsessed that my children might choose not to be a Muslim or a Christian. And so I'm going to lock them in a church and tell them not to listen to anything at all that contradicts what we want them to know. Here's another big issue about world religions. If what you're teaching is the truth, if you believe unapologetically that this is the essence of divinity and truth, why are you so insecure about having people step outside and look at something else? Because one thing we know about truth, it is consistent.
Right.
So it doesn't matter whether you go over there, whether you go over there, whether it takes you 10, 20 years to come back to this path. If it's the truth, you got to come back. But if I'm not so sure, if I'm a little doubtful myself, if there's some answers I don't have, then I don't want you to go wandering because I'm afraid that I ain't got all the answers. And the beauty of African spirituality is what, black people? It's based on the fact that there are no preconceived answers. Everyone in here got to walk their own path. Everyone in here got to honor your ancestors in your own way. Everyone in here got to pray to the great divine in your own particular personified method. There ain't no scripts to this. There ain't no build a relationship with God book for dummies. That don't exist. You got to do this on your own. Forgiveness. The ability to let people go by with the faults they put on you, because you know you're going to put some on some people too. And why is it so difficult for us to forgive? Because many of us think we're more important than everybody else. It's okay for us to violate other people, but it ain't okay for them to violate us. See, a lack of forgiveness stems from arrogance and ego. Do they know who I am? How dare you do that to me? If you didn't hold yourself so special, and if you reflected on the fact that you also committed wrongs, forgiving would be so much easier. But because all of us live in this self-created, sanctified God bubble that says we're greater than everybody else, it becomes difficult to forgive those wrongs. And if you don't forgive, you can't be forgiven. For everything that you do comes back 20 times over. See, the universe is based on mathematics. You don't have to hope. You don't have to guess. You don't have to wonder. You don't have to ponder. Know that if you do good, it got to come back. If you do wrong, it got to come back. It don't matter who you done it to. It don't matter what you did. And it don't matter when you did it. Some of you got bad luck now. You said, I've been living my life righteously for 5 years. Why do I got bad luck? Because your karma bank account, your ma'at bank account, for whatever reason, chosen by the great divine, for factors you'll never even know clearly, decided that they're going to get paid back for what they did 10 years ago, 10 years later. So you can be certain that you're going to get your payment, but you cannot specify when you're going to get it.
Right.
And that's why one of the best things we can do whenever things go wrong is not hold yourself self-righteous and say, Lord, why is evil punishing me? I'm such a conservative. Say, no. This is happening to me because I actually brought it on myself.
That's right.
See, that's hard to do. It's hard to do to say that I got into that car accident and my car got totaled because of how I used to disrespect my mother. That's hard. Because you want to make yourself believe that you're special and holy. But the minute you start recognizing that every bad experience was sent because of something you sent forward earlier, you become a lot more careful with your choices. See, if you knew that what you did in the dark would have to expose you later, you would be a little bit more careful with your choices. If you knew that stealing now means you're going to get stolen from later, you would be a little bit careful. If you knew that gossiping about somebody now means that you're going to be gossiped about later. Means that you will slow down a little bit more. So in addition to forgiveness, in addition to discipline, and what is discipline? And the definition of discipline is important because many of my parents, many of you, are not doing a good job teaching it to your children. And that's why ain't no daddy at home disorder is the #1 diagnosis in the black community. I don't call it attention deficit hyperactivity. I call it ain't no daddy at home disorder. ADHD. And if the father's in the house, it ain't no discipline at home disorder. See, I need y'all parents to understand something. You're going to put your time in raising those kids when they're children or when they are adults. But you're going to put it in. See, when I speak at the juvenile detention centers and I see all the black moms coming in crying about how they locked my baby up and this and that, I say, stop crying. This could have been prevented. He's only here because you took a break raising him. See, we do a good job raising our kids from birth to 12, and then we take a break from 12 until 17. And when they get 17, we see how far off the path they wander. We try to shake them back on the path, but it's too late now. And so now you're spending most of your check putting money on his books. Now you're spending most of your check taking 2 and 3 trips to the prison. Most of your check to pay for his lawyer fees. Most of your check to pay for socks and underwear and t-shirts. You say, my God, he's 18 years old. Why am I still raising him as a grown man? It's because you chose not to raise him as a child. You either want to do it right from birth to 17, or you're going to get paid back for it from 17 to 35. And some of you still ain't been free of raising your grown-ass son. Show me the type of parent you are, and I'll show you the type of child you'll have 10 years from now. You don't have to wait till then. Your son is 6. How do you raise him? Is there homework? Are there consequences for misbehavior? Are there responsibilities and accountabilities for that young man or woman? And if it ain't, that means you're a passive parent. That means you're the type of parent who lets your kid do whatever they want, but when birthdays come and holidays come, they get whatever they want despite the fact they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're not learning discipline in your house. And when they become adults, guess what? It's going to manifest in their life. In and out of jail, dropping out of high school, can't keep a job, don't take care of their children, still living on their mama's couch at 40 and 45. We ain't got to wait until they're 25. I'll tell you right now what type of child you're making. Some of y'all are raising criminals and don't even realize it. And then on the other end of the spectrum, thanks, Pastor. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we have what? Parents who are very strict, parents who are very aggressive, parents who are very disciplined. Y'all do a good job. Kids don't go to jail. They get their diploma, they straight A's and B's. They go on to college, start their own businesses, very successful. But the problem with children that come from aggressive homes is that they also end up becoming some of the undercover drug addicts and cigarette smokers and alcoholics, cocaine users. You know why? Because in their house, they was only valued for what they could do, not what they were. Fathers, I need y'all to stop trying to relive your athletic career through your son. Your day is over. I'm just sick and tired of running into young men telling me I'm only on a football team because my daddy said this is what he wanted me to do. I'm only on a basketball team, even though I'm good at it. I don't want to do basketball. I wanted to do golf or swimming, but my father told me that those were soft. And I needed to do something that had a little bit more swag. So I'm out here playing basketball, and even though I'm good at it, I don't even like it because I'm trying to live my father's dream, not my own. I was on a radio interview one day, and a lawyer called up, black man, very successful. He said, Dr. Umar, I got a question for you. I said, what is that? He said, my son got a problem. I said, what is your son's problem? He said, my son wants to be a barber and not a lawyer. I'm a lawyer. His grandfather's a lawyer. Can you talk to him? What can I do? Because I don't understand why this man want to do blue-collar work instead of white-collar work. I said, all due respect, sir, are you aware that we have over 2 million African Americans in this country? with master's and doctorate degrees who cannot find jobs. Are you aware of that? Are you aware that your particular profession of law is very, very crowded and over-concentrated? Are you aware of that? Are you aware of the fact that if he does learn how to cut hair, he'll always be able to pay his bills because someone somewhere always needs a haircut? Are you aware of that? Are you aware of the fact that this is his life and not yours? If the young man wants to be a barber, you let him be one. He may go on to get his teaching certificate and open up barbershops all across the country, put some of these unemployed black men to work by teaching them how to cut hair. Before you judge the thoughts that brought forth your own judgment, because by your own tongue ye shall be cursed. Many of us are not teaching our children discipline. And what is that? The ability to teach a child to do what needs to be done, when it got to be done, when it has to be done, whether they like it or not. How many of us can say our daughters got that discipline? How many of us can say our sons got that discipline? How many of our young people can get caught up in the emotions of sexual attraction and exercise that discipline and say, you know what, I want this, but this ain't what's in my best interest. I'm gonna walk this one off. How many of our young people can turn off the NBA finals because they know they got a final exam coming up and exercise that academic discipline? How many of them can overlook disrespect from one of their peers in the streets of St. Louis because they know it can lead to them losing their life? How many can keep their ego in their chest instead of blasting back, which could cause a conflict and lead to homicide? Emotional discipline. Many of them ain't got it, and why? Because you can't teach what you ain't got. And many of our parents ain't got no discipline. Your child is a reflection of you. Stop trying to separate them from you. Y'all love to call me up and say, what's wrong with my son? You are. You made him into that. Mother and father, that is your product. Apples don't fall far from trees. When you get a bad piece of fruit, you don't look at the fruit, you go to the tree and study the roots that bore it. Children don't drop out of school until their parents drop out their lives. Don't call me saying my daughter dropped out last week. If she dropped out last week in the 10th grade, that means she psychologically dropped out in the 7th grade, and I want to know why in the hell you couldn't tell. They dropped out of school because you dropped out of their life. You never dropped in school. One of our biggest problems in our community is most of us got better things to do than raise our kids. So we let medications raise them now. ADHD is his daddy. Ritalin is his daddy. Vyvanse is his grandfather. Concerta is his grandmother. Stratera, that's his big uncle. You don't want to teach him discipline, so just give him a pill to do it for us. But when he starts losing so much weight that he look like he's smoking crack, you're going to get a little concerned. When he starts saying, Mommy and Daddy, I'm hearing voices and seeing things, you're going to get a little concerned. When you go to the doctor and find out that his kidney is failing, and he got to get put on dialysis, you're going to get a little concerned. When he grows up and tries to get his wife pregnant because they want to have a child and he can't impregnate her, you're going to find out that was side effects of the psychiatrists. The Drug Enforcement Agency of America classifies Ritalin as a Schedule B drug. That means it's just as addictive as cocaine or opium. If you don't believe me, go to the library tomorrow. As the pastor would say, believe nothing I say. Go and confirm for yourself. I said the Drug Enforcement Agency of the United States government classifies methylphenidate, the scientific substance commonly sold as Ritalin, as a Schedule B drug in the same category with cocaine and opium for addiction potential and abuse potential. And some of us are giving this to our children for breakfast. They get another pill for lunch and still a third for dinner. I know children who are on cocktails. They take a certain medicine for anger in the morning, a certain medicine for ADHD in the afternoon,